pitching is obviously where they need to start.
100%. It was a thing that I think coming into the season, people had some concerns about. There was expectations for Glass now, but he's never pitched a full season because of injury. There was expectation for Yamamoto, but he was still sort of an unknown. We knew Clayton Kershaw was not going to be available until later on into the summer. So it was a question mark. It started well, and now here we are at the All-Star break, and 60% of the starting rotation is on the injured list. It is a definite spot of need for this team.
And I don't even know, does anybody have a status report on Yamamoto? I've not heard a thing.
He's starting to play catch.
Is he?
He's starting to play catch. So they are optimistic. He is progressing pretty well right now. It's still a couple weeks away, though, right?
Yeah, he's still a couple of weeks away. He's on the 60-day IL, but he's not eligible to return into the middle of August. And it still wouldn't probably be the middle of August to the end of August. If he comes back when he's supposed to, it's probably right before September.
I mean, I still think they'll coast to the division title.
Yes.
I think they are good enough to do that. But, I mean, they're missing Betts and Muncy and Yamamoto and Glasnow and down the line. I mean, they've got some real issues starting pitching. And you guys saw something about Tarek Skubal, who's with Detroit, who looks like a great young player.
According to Tom Verducci, the Dodgers and Orioles are the top two contenders to deal for Skubal. Now, that is all dependent on whether or not the Tigers actually want to part ways with him, and if they do, it will take a king's ransom probably to make it happen.
Right. And it makes sense, too, because both of those teams have a very, very good farm system and a lot of different pieces in their farm system. I mean, Skubal's 23 years old, power lefty, strikes a bunch of dudes out. We saw him on Friday right before we went to the All-Star break. He's just a really good pitcher with a lot of time left. In his last 4 seasons pitching, his ERA has dropped every single year. He's gotten much, much better.
Weirdly, that was the one game in the series the Dodgers did win.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
Well, they should have won on Sunday, jerks.
They should have won Saturday. Jerks. They should have won Sunday. They could have been swept. They could have had a sweep in that series.
Now, going back to Rosenthal, the other position that he thinks the Dodgers will address is an everyday outfielder. And, somebody to bat seventh, an everyday outfielder. I think you've got right now, obviously, you've got Teoscar, you've got Andy Pages, and you've really got sort of a hodgepodge, or as Greg would call it, a modgepodge.
I've heard it
players
both ways
in the outfield. And I think the one guy that should be circled, and I think would be an unbelievable pickup, would be Randy Arozarena.
He'd be fantastic.
He would be the best. He's my first choice.
He's that guy that is going to show up in the postseason.
Yes.
He is sort of what Jock Peterson had been for this team for so many years, where, during the regular season, Jock was sort of hit or miss, and you couldn't hit him against left-handed pitchers or whatever.
But boy, he was clutchy.
When the lights came on, you knew he was going to show up, and that's who Arozarena is.
Yeah, every time I've seen Arozarena in the playoffs, he's stealing a base, he's stealing home, he's making some ridiculous play, hitting a home run. Just when he gets in those moments, he shines. And we have a bunch of dudes on this team that fall apart when the stars shine. So it'd be nice to have somebody that actually does well in those situations.
The other guy that I kind of like as a pickup, and I think Washington is going to be selling everything off.
They should.
Is I think Jesse Winker would be a very good everyday outfielder for the Dodgers. He's having sort of a comeback year, a bounce-back year, and has played really, really well. I think he's got like 10 bombs and 10 stolen bases. He's productive.
I mean, it's weird because the Dodgers only have really one guy you'd consider to be an everyday outfielder, right? I mean, it's just kind of Teo. And that's kind of it, because like Pages, Outman, they're sort of platooning. You're putting Miguel Vargas in there where you can. I mean, Jason Hayward will get at bats when he's healthy and ready to go, but they really only have one guy is going to be out there every day.
He's a platoon guy. Like Jason Hayward is a platoon guy in those situations too. He's always going to be that way. Pages has really turned into just a average player at this point. He has ups and down moments, but he's just not an everyday player right now. He could be moving forward, but he's just not. You're right. There's nobody else that I feel good about, and we've seen what Vargas can do in left field.
Yes.
That defense is a little
sketchy. Yeah.
A little bit shaky.
By the way, Winker's 260, 11 homers, 43 RBIs, 12 stolen bases. Really productive year for him. He would be a great fit for the Dodgers.
Yeah, he was a huge prospect for Cincinnati when
and
he came up,
apart last year.
and then he fell apart, and they moved him over to there, which basically everybody that falls apart goes to the Nationals for some reason.
He's a lefty.
Right.
Which makes it interesting. I don't think you necessarily need to platoon Jesse Winker, but he's another guy that I would be looking at. I'd be looking at him. The starting pitcher I want is, and maybe could you get both of those guys from Detroit?
Skubal and Flaherty?
And Flaherty?
I mean, if you make a big enough package deal, that's
Skubal and Flaherty, but Flaherty's just on a 1-year deal.
Those always go to separate teams, though. Someone gets one, another one gets another.
I don't know.
One.
That wouldn't it be worthwhile to give up some serious prospects to get both of those guys?
It would be
Flaherty
worth
plus
pursuing
Skubal.
it, but I'm sort of with Greg. Those tend to happen because you can sort of package. I think it's hard to get a big enough package out of any one team to make both happen. So I think you end up just kind of separating the pieces and getting more, I think, in the long run.
Yeah, if you're going to do any type of package, and I'm kind of with you, Mace, when it comes to Garrett Crochet, it would be Garrett Crochet and Luis Robert.
Say, are we still? I was about to say, are we out on Luis Robert now?
Well, supposedly they've pulled back on him,
Have they
right?
pulled back
yeah,
on
the
him?
White Sox have pulled back on him.
But if you're going to get a package deal of some sort, it's going to be that type of thing where you get an outfielder and a pitcher. It could be like Tampa Bay. Maybe it's Randy Arozarena, and you bring back Ryan Pepio. I don't know. But there's things in that sense.
Yeah, by the way, it doesn't need to be – you can also acquire really mediocre starting pitching for right now because it is much better than what we've got. So there's a guy named Eric Fetty who's out there who's just a guy. But, he's a guy that will give you innings.
So this is what it has to be, though. Do you want a guy that's going to be here for this year only, or do you want a guy who's for the future? Tariq Skubal would be a guy that you're looking for the future and would make your starting rotation next year just kind of ridiculous.
Right.
But because it's Glasnow, Yamamoto, Skubal if you got him, then it would be possibly Roki Sasaki that's in there. Shohei Ohtani gets put into that rotation at some point.
By the way, Eric Fetty 7-3 and a 3.53 ERA, 2.99 ERA. So he's having a career year. So another guy that, again, potentially, he's just a guy, but you can throw him in there.
Yeah, what they do in the first half, you just never know what to translate into the second half. But
hope
so.
And probably whoever they get is going to transition potentially.